Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Kat. I'm a registered dietitian, and today we are talking about body shaming within nutrition-related MLMs. Now, I kind of want to make this into a series in my channel, sprinkled here and there between videos, but I'm going to need your help. And I'm going to also need to focus a little bit more on this specifically, but this is not a new thing. It is not unheard of that nutrition-related MLMs, they are very body shaming. I am still seeing body shaming content coming out of these nutrition related MLMs, and overall just content that's really not supporting a healthy relationship with food and not a healthy relationship with body. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about what makes it body shaming. Is there a way that we can approach health and fitness or nutrition in a way that's not body shaming? So let's just dive in. Starting off, I always like to bring it back to that definition of health that I've mentioned before in previous videos. That definition being that health is complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Now, I like to take that a step further and add emotional well-being as well. So that physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being. And that second part, meaning that just because you don't have a disease, nutrition related or not really nutrition related or anything of that, like just because you don't have that doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. At the same time, you can have those things and still lead a very healthy lifestyle, feel still pretty good. And then when you focus in more so on that first part with that physical, mental, social, and I add emotional well-being to health, that says that your social well-being and your emotional and your mental well-being should not come at the expense of your physical well-being, or your physical well-being should not harm those other portions of your well-being, because those are still very much part of health. And so if somebody is doing practices or taking products or just running themselves through this really strict diet, and it's helping, maybe it is really helping their physical health, is it at the same time helping their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, their social well-being, or is it causing some harm in those areas? And if it is causing some harm, then it's not truly healthy. And so that's what I see a lot with just diets in general. That's why I don't put people on diets. We actually do a lot deeper work and actually like more long-term work. But that is really something that I see characterized in these nutrition related MLMs. And one way that I see that, well, one is just kind of the products that they have. I've already had a few videos on like Arbonne and Herbalife. It's just not necessary for true health. And I think that's where we really have to switch that kind of view on how we're looking at health and the practices that get us to a healthier place. And even when you're talking about the diet surrounding those MLM nutrition plans. So you'll see them where they have all of this, like there's this PDF where it'll talk about all of these different rules to follow, anything from like 2 days, which is the It Works one, all the way up to like 30 days to healthier living, which is the Arbonne one. And there is no mention on how those rules are actually gonna fit long term. There's no mention on how to work those into your life in applicable ways and sustainable ways. There's no mention on the fact that your social well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being is just as important as the physical piece. So if you are focusing on that physical piece, be sure not to leave those other ones behind, and be sure to check in with those to make sure those are still being supported and elevated. And there's just this idea of being a product of the product. And when you look deeper into that, and that's not something that is well known within the industry, you have to be a product of the product. And then you say like, cool, what does that look like if you're a product of the product, that means that you're taking these actual products, these supplements, and you are doing consistently, at least maybe just once every month, maybe the first 10 days of the month or the first week of the month, or every other month if it's something like the Arbonne one, the one that's 30 days long, is that you are continuously doing these diets that claim to not be diets, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you are telling someone to be a product of the product first, they're gonna listen. Like, they're going to feel like they need to do that because, one, they're trying to improve their commissions, right? They're trying to spread the word about what they're doing. They're trying to be successful in their business, which we've talked about before. They don't have any say in the products, in the PR, in the ingredients, in the sourcing of the ingredients, in the labeling, and any of that. So that's not their business. Their business is solely on that selling side, on that commission side. But the whole premise of being a product of the product, that means that you have to be successful at using those products and doing those programs, those diet plans. And that's really where I start to have my problem. Not where I start to have my problem, but that's really another problem that really frustrates me, because those plans are not promoting that whole health approach. They are very much in this kind of clean nutrition kind of mentality. Now, when you're talking about like clean products, I know Arbonne really likes to use that terminology, and non-MLM nutrition kind of scams as well. But clean products are a fear-based marketing ploy. If you're eating a dirty food, it's because it fell on the floor and there's dirt on it. If you're eating the clean food, it's because you washed it or you rinsed it. There's no dirt on it. Right? There is no such thing as an inherently good food or bad food. And all of these plans, they all have a list of foods and nutrition in the lens of being either good or bad. And that is not a sustainable way of looking at nutrition. That's not a healthy way of looking at nutrition. There is actually something called orthorexia. I think I mentioned this in one of my videos before. And then as I was re-watching it and editing it, I was thinking how I'd hope that I expanded a little bit more on orthorexia. Now, orthorexia is a disorder. It involves unhealthy obsession around eating healthy, around eating clean foods. And it's different compared to other disordered eating ways because it is more focused on the quality of food and that hyper focus on that quality versus the quantity. And you can also have this kind of hybrid, like, right, when you're talking about this is all going on in your brain. And so there is not gonna be, again, like with everything nutrition related, it's not gonna be this all or nothing kind of black or white kind of thing. There's some subtleties within there. And so you can have that hyper intense focus on the quality and also that focus on that quantity too. That's actually my history. That's really how I was when I was a older teenager, very early 20s, and something that I really had to work through. And I had to work through that in order to do what I wanted to do, because I knew that if I helped people with their nutrition in the way that I was looking at nutrition, it would be bad. When I was still a student, the first book that even opened up my mind to just looking at nutrition differently was the book titled Intuitive Eating. So reading that as a student so long ago, like that just, it shaped me as a professional. And I'm going to do a video about intuitive eating. Just a side note, I already know it's going to be called Why Intuitive Eating Doesn't Work. And the reason why, I love intuitive eating, but a lot of people don't know that it's actually like a process. There's principles within intuitive eating. And so a lot of times when people hear the word intuitive eating, they have their own definition of it. And whenever I have talked to somebody who says that intuitive eating didn't work for them, the number one question I ask was, Like, what did that look like? What were there any principles within the intuitive eating framework that didn't work for you? And like 100% of the time, they don't know that there is a framework and that there are specific principles within that framework. And they just take the words intuitive eating and define it themselves. Hopefully help people to understand how maybe the way that they tried to do intuitive eating really wasn't fair, because it really wasn't that true framework. So that's a side note. But anyway, orthorexia is a very real thing, and a lot of people don't even know that it exists. It's not anything new. It's been something that, at least in the dietitian field, like we've been talking about that for years, but I don't think there has been enough public talk about it. There hasn't been enough talk outside of our circles to really provide that education on it and provide some of the concerns around it and kind of the steps towards it. These MLM companies, they have these really attractive diet plans, and they're really attractive to a lot of people who are predisposed to kind of fall in that. And I think that their use of the terms like clean and everything, that is just such a disgusting, it's a marketing ploy, and it's feeding off fears. It's a fear-based marketing ploy, and I am not here for it. Even last week, there was a picture on a company, and they had a granola bar, and then they had their granola bar or their protein bar, whatever, and then over the other granola bar, and I should have taken like a screenshot of this, it got deleted, said like guilt, or one gives you guilt, the other one is like guilt-free. And nutrition should never give you guilt unless you are eating in front of a homeless or starving person, somebody who really could do with some food, and you're eating and you're not sharing it with them. I think in that point, having food guilt would be appropriate. However, eating a granola bar should not give you guilt. Eating ice cream should not fill you with guilt. Eating a cookie should not. Eating anything, even like fried chicken, that shouldn't give you guilt anyway. That kind of leads me to the idea of food neutrality. Now, this is something that I feel very passionate about. Food should not be in these good categories or bad categories, and they really need to be seen. Food should be seen as neutral. Food neutrality is so important to having a healthy relationship with food. Now, when I was a older teenager, very young in my 20s, this was more of that teenager phase, or that teenager age range, where I was like terrified of eating beef. I was terrified of eating pork. I thought that if I were to eat those things, that I would get sick and that I would just be unhealthy. There was that point where I was very much focused at the same time on that quantity side of nutrition and everything that I put in my body. I was counting literally everything, and that quantity focus of that nutrition also then shifted more towards that quality of nutrition, and it was just toxic. It was taking up so much time in my day. It was taking up so much energy. It was just not a healthy place to be, and I have been removed from that for so long now, and there are times where I feel those kind of things begin to creep up, and I know what my triggers are. I know the signs that start to happen. I know when I start to feel a little bit of pull in that direction, and it needs to be shut down. And so part of the reason why I do these videos is because I see so much harm in the nutrition related MLM companies and what a lot of the consultants or distributors or health coaches are doing. And I, again, as I mentioned this in a previous video, I don't think they intend to do harm. Especially, it's hard to know how to approach health in a way that is going to not harm that physical or that mental, social, emotional well-being, because of what kind of environment that they're in, what kind of information they're getting, what kind of training that they're getting. So that's another reason why I have a problem that they just have to be like 18 years or older and have a social security number and then pay their fee and then be a health coach or a distributor and give all of this nutrition advice, when really a lot of what they do, they don't even know how harmful that it can be. And oh my gosh, it's just so frustrating. Back to my notes, I kind of went on a tangent around there, but you can't say it's about health when it is so body focused. I'm gonna put up a few pictures up here about how just gross it is. One of these pictures, I don't know which company she's from. I found this in the r/anti-MLM Reddit. It's supposed to be funny. And you can say that I just don't have, I'm not getting the humor, and then I'm just being overly sensitive. Like, you have every right to say that, okay. But it's this woman at the doctor, it's a little like comic, and he says, looks like you're pregnant. And she says, I'm pregnant. And he says, no, but it looks like you are. And that already is gross. This person says, is this you? Doesn't have to be, PM me. How just body shaming is that? Somebody could be very well in that place and like they're fine. They might be fine. They might be comfortable in their body. They might have some good energy. They might be feeling pretty good, right? Our bodies are not all gonna fit in the same way, or it's not all gonna look the same. And maybe you have some like bloating going on. Maybe you have some digestive concerns. Maybe there's some IBS going on, or undiagnosed celiac disease, or anything of that nature. And you just have some bloating, and then you see this and you feel like you look pregnant, but you're not. And then you're seeing this person like, is this you? Doesn't have to be. Like, what if that is your body? What if you're feeling like you look like that? How shameful is that? That person doesn't need to see those things. That is in no way promoting health. Shaming does not induce healthy practices, at least long term. We can't shame somebody into health. And I see this so much. I'm starting to get a little bit like heated. Literally, I'm hot. You can't shame somebody into health. And if you do successfully shame somebody into health, it's very likely that that definition of health is not all encompassing. They're not going to have those sustainable practices. There are so many examples of how people slide into DMs and ask about joining their weight loss challenge. Some of these people, they might have their Instagram or Facebook kind of talking about their recovery from disordered eating habits and eating disorders overall. And you don't have to talk about that. If that's in your history, you have every right to talk about it, and you have every right not to talk about it. And so my concern also is when you have these strangers sliding into these DMs asking if they want to be part of their healthy challenge, maybe that is the exact day that that person who is really struggling with their relationship with food and their body has kind of a rougher day, and they're like, sure, that sounds actually like something that I want to do, because it's something that is comforting. Having those food rules and having that restriction is something that a lot of people with that history find really just comforting. Even thinking about the idea that people can be brought into this thinking that it is just gonna promote their health, and then they fall into more food rules is just, it's so gross, so gross. So this is where I come to you, and where kind of I want a potential, I'm not like 100% sold on this yet, but a series where I just kind of call out some of the body shaming kind of practices, where I call out some of those really toxic posts and those pictures, even DMs. If you have any of those, let me know. I made a new email just for this. What is it called again? It is called, callingoutbodyshame@gmail.com. I will have that linked down below. If you have any stories, if you just have anything of that nature where it is related to that, send me an email. I would love to share that. Oh, and then in that email, let me know if you want to be credited by your name or Instagram or channel, whatever. Let me know how I can share that, or if you want to be anonymous. Either way is fine. And so if you want just some commentary on that, let me know, because that's why I want to do those videos, and why I think that series would be really educational. There's that entertainment piece where I think it could fall, but also the main purpose is that it provides really good content in the sense of that it is helping to show you how to see the body shame and how to see things that appear maybe okay that are really promoting a unhealthy relationship with food. And I realize how a lot of people can get upset with that. That's okay, like that's fine. You're not ever gonna please everybody. And I kind of thought about it on the other side of, could this potentially trigger somebody into having that kind of going in more of that direction of those disordered eating habits? And I thought about it for quite a bit of time, but I wanted to say thank you to Monica Smbaida. She actually did a video calling about the body shaming around and her experience. And I think it can really be kind of just comforting and strengthening in knowing that you have this community of people that you know won't promote this kind of body shame or this food guilt, and overall just promoting a healthy relationship with food and your body, and giving you those tools to call it out. Maybe you see how it could be kind of seen as food shaming or body shaming. Maybe you don't have as much confidence, or you really don't know how to call it out or to use those words to kind of formulate those thoughts around it, but you know that it's kind of icky. Like that's the whole idea. And that's kind of how I process things. I love YouTube so much, and I watch so many different creators, and a lot of the things I have some questions on, it really helps me to have that commentary on it so that I can further just educate myself, and I feel like I can become more confident in that area. And so that's kind of the goal and the idea of that, rather than to just share those and not give any context around how to approach those or how to answer those or how to kind of think about those in a healthier way. So send those over to me. Again, that is linked down below, and I will see you later. All right, bye guys.